How you doing, guys? Welcome back to Coffee and Juice. So now you're reflecting on your life and you say to yourself, you know what? I need a change. I'm miserable. I hate this place. Nothing works here, et cetera, et cetera. So is Thailand your final destination, regardless if you're a 35-year-old digital nomad or you're a 65 to 70-year-old expat retiree? Is Thailand where you want to be based? So stick around. I'm going to give you my personal overview because remember, from one human being / YouTuber to another, they're going to highlight certain pros and cons to living out here in Southeast Asia and more specifically Thailand. So if it's your first time tuning into the channel, I'm a retiree from a law enforcement background, a tier 1 agency. I did my 20-year sentence and I'm doing whatever I want to do, sitting on a pension and also a couple of business endeavors. So now, why did I pick Thailand to be based out of for 6 months out of the year? And then once again, 6 months out of the year, I live van life, a very minimalist life that, of course, I'm going to bring you this particular content in a little bit when I go back. But why did I pick Thailand specifically out of any other country in the world? And also, when we get a little bit more granular, I like using that word, is in Southeast Asia, there's many places to go. But why did I pick Thailand? So let's kind of break down personally my anecdotes and my interests and what actually made me drop down and live in Thailand. So living out in Thailand for about the last 5.5 years intermittently, one thing I want to, because you got to understand something, when people talk about Thailand, they use it in a very blanketed type way. Now, there's Phuket, there's Chiang Mai, there's Pattaya or Pattaya, whatever, which enunciation you like. There's Bangkok. So you have to be careful when you talk about, hey, I want to be based out of Thailand or I want to move to Thailand. I just have of course, at 8 o'clock in the morning, a tractor trailer / bus in front of me. That's why I'm a little hesitant regarding me talking to you. So I'm not saying Asians are bad drivers. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. I have to be careful. So now what I recommend right off the bat, if you're really going to endeavor on coming out to Thailand, eventually living here, is that Airbnb or short-term or long-term rentals are going to be your friend. So the way I did it personally is I started out in Phuket. I was in Rawai. I was in Patong. And then I said, you know what? Let me check out Bangkok, a big city. Let me see if I like that. And then the story, if you watch some of my videos, is that I had my heart set on basically getting a condo in Phuket, more specifically Rawai, Nai Harn. But what it was is that the region changed very dramatically with the influx or the volume of new, patronage. So now with that being said, so besides the fact that I feel like I want to run after that guy, I'll also highlight the fact that you don't want to go to a Thailand prison. And I also did a video on that as well. But I had my heart set on Phuket, Rawai Beach. But what happened was, like I said, it changed. And also the price point for me also changed. So I said, what's the cheapest out of, if you want to basically lodge? And Pattaya really is the cheapest. And what I found out, and also keep in mind that initially Pattaya has a pretty bad reputation of being seedy, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, and this is going to go into the next division of the conversation, Thailand is what you make of it. All right. So always keep that in mind. So when I say Thailand is what you make of it, what I'm going to break down is what made me lean to coming out here. So I'm a guy who's touching about 50 years old, a little bit of a staple of my lifestyle. I'm not saying I'm, Chris Bumstead or anybody, but I've been basically trying to be fit my whole life, however that's working out or however it translates on the screen. So part of the package as you get older, and I always keep it real with you guys, is that the accessibility to performance enhancing agents, if you're in America, to be honest with you, things gotten a little better. But unless you're subclinical or clinically hypogonadal, nobody's giving you anything. And if they're going to give you, like I got an endo that I work with, like for him to give me a Zyosted pen of 100 milligrams, he's making it like he's coming off, he's like Christ coming off the cross. And to be honest with you, 100 MIGs, personally at my age and my workload of training is a little ridiculous. But once again, I'm getting off track. So why I gravitated to Thailand is that anabolics, for the most part, they're over the counter. And also there's a ton of clinics out here looking to help you. Some of them are expensive, but also what's very, some of you may not think it's a big deal, but if you want to get injected, you have your stuff from a doctor and you want to get injected out here, a nurse is giving you a professional injection. So now for some of you, this is not relevant in your world, but to me, it's very, very important. So right off the top of my head, one of the pros to being out here is that for me, I don't have to jump through hoops regarding, running my protocol and just trying to have that vector of my health in check. Because once again, as the aging male, if you do not address your hormonal pattern, all your comorbidities, et cetera, will start to creep up on you. And, we talk, obviously we could talk about congenital things that you may have, but nothing is helping your trajectory if you're not addressing certain hormones as a man. So once again, the one major push for me is that once again, the hormones are in play. And once again, not to, go too much into this, is that I was on a job, that I retired from they scrutinized you so much that basically, you needed a prescription for a baby aspirin. That's the level of myopia that these doctors had that would check on you. I'll be honest with you, it was brutal. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have stayed a stockbroker because that's initially what I was doing before I got into law enforcement. But I didn't mean to digress. So now the second pro is that iron sharpens iron. So when you come out to Southeast Asia, there's a very large expat or how can I say, people that travel that are very, very fit. And once again, that could be motivating. I've been training a long time. It's not always the easiest to get out of bed and, hit a workout. So the thing is that when you see other fit people, you're also in a tropical climate with the sun out all the time. It just feels good. And there's palm trees. So once again, if you want to come out to Thailand, there's an abundance of that. So you have the atmosphere, the ambiance. There's a little bit of competition. You have your gear on hand. Now, when it comes to nutrition, we could talk about this because I've been to other places in Southeast Asia. And from what I'm seeing, thus far, what we have going on is that the Philippines, the food, unless you hire some type of chef, which isn't the worst idea now that I just thought of it, the food is just not conducive for training. And also there was no gyms out there. I want to try out Vietnam eventually because I heard some good things, but Thailand is a very, very fit community. Now also couple that, if you want to pick up a skill like Muay Thai, and I'm not saying you're going to go to the stadium because I'm not, is if you want to become cardio fit, these Thai trainers will brutalize you. If you're a little bit older, you're going to have to say, listen, we got to go easy. Not that they would understand that, but so keep in mind, you have your gear, your weight training, your Muay Thai / cardio. And then also, especially as people get older, and this is more so what I address at this point. You're getting the highest quality of massage. Now, I'm a guy who does a 2-hour clip because I'm greedy, and this is just what I do. You're getting a high quality massage for like 10, 12 US dollars. I mean, it's insane. So once again, we talk about the pros as I keep going. Eventually we'll get to the cons. So let's also talk about this really quick. So now when we start to get, deeper in the well on the pros, if you're thinking about coming out to Thailand, maybe there's issues with you personally meeting women or dating or sustaining, you want to have that type of lifestyle where you can, freely date and there's availability. Now, if you're in your home country, even though this could get debated, for you to take a woman out on a date, and once again, we could get into this whole rabbit hole, and we probably could, but I'll save it for another day, is that you might go out on a date and burn around $300 to $400 US, and it's going nowhere. So now if we do a little bit of math, like I like to do on the channel, by the time you get going, you're already tapped out and in the red. So when you come out to Thailand, there's no leverage for a woman. Now I'll explain. And once again, a lot of my opinions could be unpopular, is that there's so much of an abundance out here in Thailand. And I always like to say, it doesn't matter if you're Brad Pitt or the Elephant Man. If you understand how things work out here, you're going to be in a stronger place dating out here than you would back in your home country, soup to nuts. And I'll just leave it like that. So when we talk about the pros are that you're in a stronger place regarding your dating lifestyle. So that's another pro to Thailand. So as we further start to, scale or itemize the pros, we talk about logic, and I'll just give you an example. I've been out here for 6 months. I stayed in a couple of different places. When I was in Phuket is where I really thought, because it was the season and it's also the placement of where I was, is I paid around $1,500. And I'll be honest with you, the Airbnb was terrible. If you watch the video, I left within 48 hours. It was brutal. And it was a $1,500 price tag. But then now if we flip the script and you come to Pattaya, you're looking at anywhere from, let's say, $400 to maybe $700 a month regarding your rent. Now, I was recently in Barcelona. I was in California. And all I know is that for 1 month, Europe, US, it was about $3,000 a month, and you are not getting any amenities. There's nothing insane about where you're staying. So we talk about lodging. And as you can maybe see in the background, I'm not 100% sure, is that this is the Russian market, as I called it, which they have great food for a very reasonable price. I'm someone who really only eats American. I try to scale down my diet that way. That's where a lot of my money goes to or is allotted for. So once again, Thailand's great for if you want to be minimalist with the food, you don't require much, and also your lodging. Some of you might do the hostels, and once again, do what you like. But once again, it could be, $300 to $400 to anywhere to $1,000 for something very, something very plush that you can have. Another advantage of being based out here in Thailand is that it's going to sound crazy. And once again, this is my previous video. When you have everything at your fingertips, and I also think I have ADHD, that I constantly need to be stimulated, is that you're in this environment and this is great, but you might actually get bored of kind of patternizing your life in a certain way. That's one dilemma. So one thing you can do is that, and the way I work it in personally, because this is a personal account of the pros and cons, is that when it hits that like prior 3-month mark where I got to do the whole immigration, I know it's online now. You guys are going to beat me up in the comments, but I could be a little weird, and it's going to be like, all right, well, you're forcing me now to explore Indonesia. You're forcing me to explore certain parts of the Philippines. So what it is you kind of break up the monotony of your lifestyle in Southeast Asia. So one of the benefits, depending on where you base yourself, some flight paths are a little easier than others, is that is another positive to being out here, is that you're not just kind of boxed into where you are. You could say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to do a 2-week hit, and I think I want to do it. I need to get out of here. Maybe you're hiding from girls that you promised the world to. You know, who knows what you're doing out here? But just keep that in mind. That is another benefit to being out here in Thailand. So now that we kind of, or I kind of gave you a robust breakdown of how I see it, because obviously this is looking through my lens of life, is that what could be the negatives or the cons to living out here? And I use this phraseology quite often, is that if you're not someone who has the ability to master solitude and be alone, this place could eat you alive a little bit. Also financially. And, it always goes back to a certain conversation. If you don't have the discipline, because once again, people will say it's a lot cheaper out here, but it depends on what you decide to do with your free time. And all I could say is that depending on who you are, you could be looking at 10,000 a month out here, like just operating the way you do. So discipline financially off your pension. If you don't have that, if you can't understand that this is a transient community, meaning that you can make friends, but hey, Tommy went back to Europe, or, your favorite massage girl went back to Isan and you're heartbroken. So you have to understand that you have to be able to deal with this, especially in something called low or rainy season, where you might be trapped. I don't want to use the word trap, but you might be in your condo, a couple of days, and, it's just not popping the way it was. You're not stimulated. So once again, we get back to the high flyers club. Some is, might lose it. And also the negatives are when everything's at your fingertips once again, do you have the discipline regarding your, how can I say this, medicinal compounds that you ingest or you inhale? Because once again, these are going to be contributing factors on it becoming a negative for you. So now there's not too many negatives, to be honest with you, in my opinion. Some will say, oh, the medical care, the insurance, but maybe grab some insurance out here. But I found, via my own research, some of the best medical care in the world was in Bangkok. I also was in Bangkok Hospital in Pattaya. So I was impressed. I always am, so just keep that in mind. I almost broke my ankle and ended up in the hospital. So all I could close with is that if you're thinking about coming out here, there's more pros than cons, but eventually the conversation will always come back to you and who you are when you're in a certain place. So coffee and juice, I hope you got something out of it, and I'll talk to you soon. And once again, have a great day and enjoy yourself.